Not yet.
What's the Capital Club?
What's the what?
The Capital Club.
When you cap,
Oh, is that?
your
what
name
that-
goes
that's
up
what
on
it
the
is?
wall.
Alright, that's cool.
That's not what I said. I said out of your way, and it says on the way, on your wedding. That's
Hello, love. Water.
I'm Austin.
My name's Lisa.
Accept.
How long have you been in this?
I just started.
Really?
Yeah,
Is it like?
Friday was the interview that I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Just got my onboarding stuff completed this morning, so. Yeah.
Wow, fresh out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I love these classes. I always come to them.
Anybody join me? Oh, somebody else on that. Okay, so. You need,
Oh, yeah, I do. Okay.
although I don't stand here very long, but.
No.
So you didn't negotiate, how hard did you negotiate?
Well, you did, but I have two of these.
Oh, okay. For more than I was supposed to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about, making and receiving offers and negotiating the deal. The art of the deal. Oh, goody. Okay, so on the buyer side, when you are, getting ready to write an offer, you will probably want to go into command, go into an opportunity, establish an opportunity. And the opportunity is going to tell you the documents that you need. Okay, and it says like RES 2000 on them, for a residential offer. Depending on what kind of offer, depends on what kind of form you're gonna use. So a regular real estate offer or condo offer is going to be the RES 2000 residential real estate. If you're making a land offer, then it's gonna be the vacant land one, okay? And you're able to choose the type that you're making on this little checklist that's there. And if I have my password, I'd try to log into the command. So you're gonna pick which one, it'll give you kind of a list of what you're going to need as far as documents go. Normally you wanna call the agent and make sure there's no other offers on the table, or does she have any activity, okay, going on with it? I like to also, you know, if I am making an offer, you know, is there anything special that I need to worry about on the sellers? We're probably gonna make a 45-day close date offer. Is that okay? Do they need more time? What's the deal there? Okay, so communication is key when you're dealing with another agent, okay? Hello. So you will also want to go into the MLS and make sure that there are no other documents that are required to be submitted with an offer. i.e. a measurement disclosure, a seller's disclosure, a well disclosure, a lakefront property, to any kind of disclosure that might be going on. A lot of Stone and Taney County has a lot of wells and we have a lot of septic tanks. Okay, so a lot of times there will be a disclosure. You are going to download those documents because your buyers will have to initial or sign those documents. A measurement disclosure, a little history behind the measurement disclosure. The measurement disclosure form is basically when you go into the MLS or whatever, and you put in the total square feet. Or you put in the base and the below grade, and it comes up with the total number. We go in and tell people, this is where we got those measurements. Did we get it from the seller, which I always recommend don't use that, okay? Did we get it from the assessor's office? 99% of the time, that's where you're gonna get the number. Or did we get it from a previous appraisal, okay? Or another, there's a other option, and then you will list it. The reason that we have a measurement disclosure, and this did not happen in this office, it actually happened up in the Kansas City area. There was a listing, and the listing said that it had 3,000 square feet. And that's what it had on the MLS. And the new buyer came in and they closed on the property. And I guess they started looking at their appraisal. And the appraisal came in that they only had 2,990 square feet. And they sued over 10 square feet. Now keep in mind, 10 square feet is like this. It's like a piece of a closet. But they sued and they won. Okay, because we disclosed that the listing agent said there was 3,000 square feet. The information that you put in the MLS is supposed to be accurate, okay? So we go to the county records and we get whatever they say is the actual square footage, and that's what we use, okay? 99% of the time. There may be some other times that you use an appraisal or whatever. I don't recommend that you use what the seller said. Just based on the fact of, you know, they don't really know necessarily what's in there.
Because at the assessment office, they know exactly, right?
Yeah, usually
That's
they've
why
done
we use it,
measurements.
Like they're right on it.
But we're covering our butt. This is what the assessor says. So if that's wrong, then go to the assessor, don't sue us.
Right, okay, got it.
Now, there's always a possibility that the assessor is incorrect. And I will give you an example of that. Steve and I bought the house that we live in today. And the assessor has a certain amount of square footage in there. Well, we decided to add an 18 by 20 foot family room off the front of it. Okay, so, and the assessor has never changed the square footage.
Aren't they supposed to by law though?
Well,
Update it?
I don't think they've like driven down my street to find my house to go measure it, so. You gotta drive a long ways to get.
Okay, so if you were selling your house and that was the situation with a seller, then how would we know?
How would we know what?
How would we know that the assessor, the office has it wrong, like at your house? Because of that 19 by 20 on there now.
Well, you're probably gonna ask the seller, have you made any additions to the house since you
Okay.
lived here? Okay, the tax assessment says this, do you feel that this is comfortable? Or this is correct? Okay, now, when I would go to a seller and have a conversation, you as the seller, as the listing agent, you're asking questions. And the seller's gonna go, oh yeah, we added this room as you're doing a tour.
Okay,
This room on here, we added it. Okay, so that's gonna trigger me.
and I make a little note of it.
And I'll probably ask them, have you had an appraisal?
Okay.
And if they've had an appraisal done,
Mhm.
because they refinanced the house or did whatever, then I'm gonna have something that tells me what the square footage is.
Right, okay.
I'd rather be under than over.
Mhm.
Right. So, and I might put an agent remark in there. That says, tax assessment says this amount per seller, whatever added. It's gonna be in the seller's disclosure that I added that.
Okay.
Room onto that. So that's where the measurement disclosure came from. So that's why a lot of companies are asking for it. I get asked that question all the time. Why can't you fill this out? That's why you have to fill it out.
So sorry, one more. So, when the bank, like when they're getting a pre-approval, do they go, the bankers go into the listing to see what all is in there, or we are communicating with the banker to get the pre-approval?
Well, the pre-approval has something to do with the house.
I know, but they don't want to know any specifics about the house then at
They'll
all?
order an appraisal
They'll order one, okay.
through the mortgage
Mhm.
process.
Okay,
So they will order an appraisal. And we'll probably talk about that on Monday or Tuesday of next week. Contract close, I think, I can't remember what day. But I do a training this week and we talk about contract close. So we're gonna go in the MLS, we're gonna download every document that needs to be downloaded. To have our buyers either initial or sign, okay? We're gonna go into DocuSign, we're gonna pull down the documents. That class is the first week in February. DocuSign and opportunities. And we're gonna fill out all the documents, okay? If we need a pre-approval letter, we do want a pre-approval letter on the buy side. If they're paying cash, we need proof of funds. Do they have the money to actually purchase the house that they are saying they are going to pay cash for? Okay, and I will tell you that it behooves you to do this. Because I can stand up and say all day long that I have the money to buy something. But I may not have the money to buy something. And there was a scenario, in the last 9 months where there was a $2 million house that had an offer of $1.5 million. It was a cash offer. They didn't ask for proof of funds. And the seller didn't really have $1.5 million. Okay. And because we can't discriminate because of fair housing, I can't put a limit on a cash offer. Of how much, if I require it for 1.5, I gotta require it for 1,000. Okay, so you get into the whole legalese there and everything going on. So if you do have a cash offer, we do require a proof of funds. The way that you come up with the proof of funds is we need some kind of account. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bank account, it can be any kind of statement. That says that, and it has to be a current statement, it can't be like a year old. Okay, it's gotta be kind of current. That says that they have the funds available. To be able to purchase the house. You will black out the account numbers. On both sides of the piece of paper. So that they can't do this. And we don't have any fraud going on. They're smiling at me. Am I saying anything I'm not supposed to?
No, I'm just thinking about like lawsuits and stuff of things that you're talking about. So
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
people are insane,
Yeah.
because like, I don't even think about that stuff, like,
Yeah.
how do they come
Yeah.
up with evil?
And so, and that's why I tell you some of this stuff. Trust me, I sit back sometimes and go, why? Why would you even do this? Little story, okay? Speaking of fraud. Over Lake the Ozarks. They had an agent, and this happened yesterday, we found out yesterday. They had an agent who about called them. And said, I want to list my house. And. The listing agent, of course, we get all excited, okay, and we don't necessarily check out things that we're supposed to check out. So the listing agent listed the house. And the listing agent came across a buyer to buy the house. So the listing agent wrote a contract. And the person that said that they wanted to sell the house signed all the contract, okay, everything moved along. It was supposed to close in 4 days. The actual owner showed up at the property. 4 days ago. Or yesterday. And the neighbor came out and said, hey, congratulations on selling your house. And the neighbor said, the owner said, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm not selling my house. Oh, yeah. Brady Ford is, this agent is selling your house. And it closes in 4 days. So of course, the owner contacts KWRI, who contacts the people over at the Lake of the Ozarks. And we had to shut that down. So there is fraud out there. So when you get ready to do a listing, if you don't actually meet these people and they call you on the phone, it's got a lot of out of town people. You need to, you need to do what you need to do to verify that that person is real. Okay, this guy, you know, he claimed he was the seller, and it happens, okay? And why are you doing this?
They, like, I don't get it, like, are you
How
dumb?
evil can you be to
Yeah,
do something
And
like
dumb,
that?
like,
Yeah.
you really think that
You're
no
gonna get
one's
away
gonna
with
notice?
it?
Yeah, like, what?
Now I will say that if you close some Great American Title, they've got this whole fraud thing in place. That they're able to, they do the verifications, they make you, you know, send in information or whatever. And I do know one of the girls in the last 6 months caught one. Where somebody tried to do the same thing here. Okay, so, so.
Was it-
Listing agent beware.
Was it a family member of that guy who owned the house? Didn't even know him?
No. No, there's scammers out there.
What?
So we're gonna download everything that we need. We are gonna go in, we are going to write the offer. And here's what I'm gonna say about writing an offer. Please read the documents that you're about to present to your buyer. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get. And people say to me, how do I fill this out or whatever? And I say, did you read, what does it say? And they say, I don't know. And I say, read it back to me. And they read it back to me and they go, oh, okay, I know the answer to this. Okay. Please read the document. Please know what your clients are signing. Okay. Just makes me giggle sometimes. And then depending on, I was never one to, do an offer digitally without going over the offer with the client before. So normally, I'm old school, I was old school. We would meet in person and we would actually go over it, okay? Now, I know this day and age, we have a lot of DocuSign and a lot of people sign digitally. Before you send it, let your buyers know that you're sending it. Get on the phone with them and go through the document and explain it. Especially if it is a first-time home buyer. They don't always read everything. Okay, just like agents don't always read everything, they don't always read everything. So they may miss something because you didn't go over it with them. So I usually go over it with them. I had a short version and a long version. And I would ask people, do you want the long version or the short version? Okay, long version is gonna be for those detail-oriented guys that we talked about yesterday. Accountants, lawyers, engineers, IT people. They wanna know everything about everything. Now, they're gonna read the contract, okay, trust me. And an attorney is going to want to change it. We don't really change it unless we put it in special agreements or other information. We are not attorneys, so we don't change the contract. Attorneys wrote the contracts that we fill out and fill in and put the parameters of the deal together. So we don't practice law. So we don't change the contract. We don't take verbiage out. That verbiage is there for a reason. Somebody got sued about something, okay? So when I first started out, our contracts were 6 pages long. And in the 20 years that I've been in the business, we've gone from 6 pages to 16. So somebody sued somebody.
The page was added.
Fill it out.
Another page was added. Oh,
That's usually how it happens.
So, I am a pretty like detailed person. So like I read the whenever I first started, I was reading contracts. I know what the contracts say and all that. But I don't know, like how much do you shorten it? Like, do you just say like, this paragraph is about this? And explain it a little, because like I just say like, this is everything, like, and I don't know, I guess I have an issue with shortening it.
Yeah, I would have a one or two line sentence.
Okay,
That I would repeat back to tell them this is what it
Okay.
is. Okay, and do you have any questions? And then if they have a question, then I can go into more detail.
okay,
Okay, normally on a first time home buyer or somebody who has not bought a house in 30 years,
mhm,
I'm gonna do the long version. I am gonna go through every paragraph and I'm going to explain it to them.
Okay.
If I'm dealing with an investor,
mhm,
or a flipper type of person, or somebody who has a lot of experience when they go, yeah, we bought 10 properties in the last 10 years, and, okay, I don't need to necessarily go through the long version. I can do the short version. Okay, but you do want to explain it to them, you do want to be able to answer those questions, so please read the contract. Please read the forms that you are getting ready to do. Go over it with them. Once you get everything signed, you are going to send the offer over to the listing agent. You need to communicate with the listing agent that you have sent the offer. Okay, and you need to get confirmation that they've received it. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a phone call, that said, well, I shared this offer over with this agent 3 days ago and I haven't heard anything. Okay. And of course, my first question is, did you call him? No. She should have got it. Oh, okay, yeah, no. You need to call him. Okay, you need to, the rule number one, communication. We have to communicate with each other, okay? And I know we get busy and all that stuff, but normally I would send the offer over, they knew it was coming anyway. Because I let them know it was coming, okay? And then I shoot them a text or a phone call that says, I just shared it through DocuSign with you, please let me know that you've received it. Okay, really easy, okay, and then I'll go text back, thank you received. Okay, or no, I haven't gotten it yet, well, let me see what happened. Okay, you might have typed in the email wrong, who knows? So do make sure that they receive it, okay? And I wanna go back real quick to the offer. So when you sit down with your buyer and they decide that they're gonna make an offer on a property, you need to know the price. You need to have a conversation with the lender. Are there closing costs that are needed? Is there any assistance that we are going to be requesting from the seller? And what is the maximum amount that we're asking for? Okay, so because on the buy side, you don't wanna go in and write the offer that you're asking for $9,000 in closing costs, but you don't need $9,000. So a conversation with the lender helps you know what you need, okay? And it also helps you know, does the buyer need help? Okay, because that helps you negotiate. Right. And a lot of times it will also depend on what type of loan. Okay, so a VA loan, a USDA loan, rural development loan. Those are usually 100% loans. And most of the time when those are done, that tells me that a buyer does not have a lot of cash on hand. So they're probably gonna need help. So you're gonna need to ask for concessions. So you're gonna wanna find out the price, you're gonna wanna find out what the concessions are. You do wanna do an earnest money deposit. Normally, anything under 200,000, I do $500. And anything over that, I'm doing at least 1,000. And this is going to be a check that the buyers are going to make out to the title company. Okay, so, and that money will be held by the title company, you don't hold them. Okay, you might hang on to it until you have an accepted offer. Then it's gonna go to the title company. Some title companies will wire. So you will then, once the offer is accepted, you will get with the buyer to say, okay, here's the wire instructions for Great American Title, Meridian, Hogan, whatever it may be. And then they can wire the funds in. Do you know that the contract has a certain amount of days that the buyer has to get the earnest money in? It's 5 days. Okay. So from the time that the contract is accepted, and that means the last party signed, either the buyer or the seller, you have 5 days to get that earnest money to the title company.
Is it best for them to give us that and us deliver it to the title company, or can they take it to the title company? Some have wanted to do it themselves.
Yeah, I'm a control freak. And I want to be in control. And I don't necessarily want to leave it up to the buyer to get over there. If I am actually sitting down with them and I am writing the offer with them and they are signing the documents, I ask for the check right then and then. And I tell them, if this doesn't go through, I will give you the check back. Now, if they're out of town, they're probably gonna be doing a wire. So you're not gonna get the money, okay? You do need to determine what your close date is. Okay, so when do they want to close? If you have a loan, any kind of, I mean, especially if it's a government loan, you're gonna want at least 30 days. And the norm is gonna be 45. Okay, so today's the 21st of January. If I was doing a USDA loan, unless they've already run through everything and all we're waiting for is for them to go find a house as far as the loan approval process goes. I'm gonna go January, February, probably gonna be around March 10th. Okay, make sure that your closing date is not on Saturday or a Sunday or a holiday. I will give you this piece of advice. I never put my closing dates on a Friday, especially the last Friday of the month. Most closing dates would be on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And the reason behind that was because things happen, things go wrong. The lender can't get the documents over to the title company, and it's a Friday. And now all of a sudden, we can't close on a Friday and your buyer's got a U-Haul. They've got it all loaded up. They're ready to move in on a Friday. They're gonna take the weekend. They bought 3 cases of beer. Their friends are gonna come over and help them. They've got 3 dogs, 2 cats, and 4 children. And we ain't closing.
Not even finished.
And now it's gonna be Monday.
Yeah,
And they got nowhere to live. If I put a closing date of a Wednesday, chances are they're not gonna wanna move until Friday anyway. And I got 2 days to figure it out. Okay, so we are problem solvers. And we are fix-it people. Okay, so make sure that, you know, when you go in to do a closing, you wanna try to pick a Wednesday or a Thursday. That way, you know, we've got it's closed and then they can move in over the weekend. Okay, and I tell people that, okay, I want everything to be smooth. I want it all to be perfect. I also want you to like me in the end. Okay, and if you gotta spend the weekend in a motel, or you don't know where you're gonna stay, and all your stuff is in a U-Haul and you don't even have a toothbrush with 3 dogs, 2 cats, 4 kids, you're not gonna like it. Even though it's the lender's fault, it's not my fault, but you're not gonna like me. Okay, so I like to be a little bit proactive. And go ahead and close it on a Wednesday or a Thursday. I really don't suggest that you do it on the last day of the month because it's hard to get a closing date. Closing time with the title company on a Friday, last Friday of the month. Okay, and Jan's really busy that day because for some reason, not everybody listens to me. Okay, now I will say that sometimes buyers will go, no, I need to close on this day, and I get that, okay. But I also let them know, hopefully we don't run into any issues when we get to the closing too. And tomorrow, when we go through contract close, you'll be able to see why I tell you that as we go through the process where a hiccup can happen, and then all of a sudden you're getting pushed out, okay?
So, question, is it better to try to close in the morning hours or the PM hours? In the afternoon?
I always try to close before 2 o'clock because the bank cut off is 2 o'clock.
Okay,
Now, if I got a listing. Or I have somebody that's closing on their house. And they need the funds to close on this house. And this happens all the time. I need to close here in the morning. So that the funds can be received to be able to close in the afternoon. If you want the same day to close. Okay,
but that's doable, the same day close,
absolutely.
like that.
Happens all the time. I will also want you to keep in mind that when I call the seller. Or the seller's agent, the listing agent, to have a conversation, I'm asking about closing. And what do they need? And where are they going to go? And are they going to be out of the house? Before they close? Or do we have to close them and I need to give them a few days to get out of the house? Okay, the other reason that we might want to close on a Wednesday is because the seller needs to close to be able to get the money to go buy their next house. And they can't move out until they get that money to be able to close on the other house to get possession. Okay, so sometimes we will close on a Wednesday. We will give the seller a couple of days to move out, and then we will take possession on Saturday morning or Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, something like that. So you have to keep that in mind as you go through this. And I mean, if the house is vacant, you have nothing to worry about. Okay, they're not living there. It's really when it's occupied that you need to know what's going on. Okay, so.
So whenever you're calculating, like you talk to the lender or whatever, and they're telling you, yeah, this buyer needs 30 days to close. Do you count like business days or do you count like calendar days?
Usually calendar days.
Okay,
Yeah, to close, so if he told me that they needed 30 days to close, I'm gonna go to at least the 21st of February.
okay,
And I'm gonna pull up the calendar and I'm gonna look. And it may be the 23rd,
mhm,
okay? But I'm gonna give it, but I can also say I don't look on. Oh, 7, 14, 21, okay. 21, 28, 29, 30. Okay, I don't necessarily do that either,
mhm,
but I get as close to that as I can,
okay,
okay? Does that make sense?
yes.
Yes. Now, cash deal, okay, cash deals are a different story. Cash deals, you call the title company, they'll have to look in closest. Unless the buyer tells you, no, I need 30 days, okay? I've closed cash deals in as little as 6 days. Okay, now I usually try to give the title company 10. Because you do want to be able to get the title work back and all that stuff. Now, when I say that, okay, if you're doing inspections, keep in mind, we have dates for all this stuff. And we're gonna do an inspection, I got 10 days to do an inspection, and I got 10 days to resolve it. And then the seller's gotta do the repairs, and then I can move in. Okay, probably 30 days, okay? I'm buying the house as is. I'm waiving inspections, not doing an appraisal, none of that, 6 or 7 days. You can close it. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna get a closing date. We are also gonna figure out what it is that they wanna keep in the property and what they don't wanna keep in the property. Okay, so normally, you know, you walk into a house, usually, now the real estate contract will state that these things stay with the property, okay? But I always designate appliances. You know, like, do I want the refrigerator? And if there's only one refrigerator in the house, you need to say which refrigerator. Is it the refrigerator in the kitchen? Is it the refrigerator in the garage? Is it both refrigerators? Okay, if it's attached, it stays. Okay, so dishwashers usually stay. Built-in microwaves stay. But if they're not built in, then we need to ask for it. Washer and dryers don't normally go with the property. If we want the washer and dryer, we need to ask for it. Okay. Freestanding stoves. Those can technically be removed. I do put freestanding, I put stove. Okay, so when I write an offer, you know, all appliances in the kitchen stay with the property. Sometimes I'll go in and go, you know, refrigerator, stove, microwave, all stay in the kitchen, all stay with the property. Okay. Now, personal property, let's talk about personal property. We do a lot of properties down here that come fully furnished because they're short-term rentals. when you write an offer that has any personal property that has a loan on it, a mortgage of some sort. You will want to put what the personal property is that is staying, and that personal property will have no value. It is at the convenience of the buyer or at the convenience of the seller at zero value. Okay, now the reason that you have to do that is because, and even if you do a boat slip. Okay, boat slip is personal property, it's not real estate. Should be real estate, but it's not real estate. Especially how expensive they are. You will put that, you know, boat slip, whatever, on dock, whatever, permit, whatever. Transfers, conveys with the property at no value, at the convenience of the seller. Okay, and the reason that we do that is because mortgage companies do not give loans on personal property. And the reason we say zero value is, because we don't want to put a number on it, because the lender will then go in and say, oh, well, you said it was worth $5,000, so we're not doing the loan for $390, we're only doing the loan for $385, because you need to remove the personal property. Okay, so that's why it said at a zero value at the convenience of whoever. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, if someone took a loan out to rebuild that dock or just build it, then,
A dock?
yeah, even if it goes with the property and he's got a loan out, how does that, he pays it off after he sells the house then? Or does it transfer to the new buyer?
The dock? The
Yeah.
boat slip?
If the dock is included in with it, if they're saying you get the dock too.
Yeah, the house has to appraise for
Yeah,
the amount that you put on there.
right.
Okay,
But when you said some will get loans on personal property.
no, I said if they're getting a loan on the property that
On
they're
the-
buying,
Okay,
that the
got it.
mortgage company will not give they don't do mortgages on personal property.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
So boat slips are considered personal property. Now I will also, that we also write contracts that say, please include the boat slip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we might offer more for the house. So instead of offering, you know, $365, we might offer $425,
Right.
because we want a boat
That's
slip that
what I was
goes in there with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, if there's a loan on that property, or if there's a loan, if the buyer, the new buyer
Mm-hmm.
is getting a mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
okay? That property has to appraise for $425.
Right.
Okay, so keep that in mind.
Now, how would you work that then?
How would I work that?
I'm not. Okay, got it. Never mind.
House has to appraise
Mhm,
for the purchase price.
mhm.
Otherwise, you need to sell the boat slip outside of the contract.
And see, that's why I was wondering, some of them do that, you know, they say, or you can have the boat slip too, and I was like, how is that working?
They included
I-
it all in the price.
Okay.
Okay, if you're doing cash, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Okay, you can offer whatever price you want, waive your appraisal, it doesn't have to appraise.
Okay.
You know
Yeah.
that you have done that.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of other people will, okay, here's what we're buying the property for. And I'm going to give you this amount of money for your boat slip, and it's outside of the real estate deal.
So. Okay, how would we work that into the money side of it then?
You're gonna have a personal
It's
property
just a-
agenda,
Gonna have what?
personal property agenda.
Okay,
Makes sense.
got it.
And I'm not always, now, a boat slip is a different story, but I will tell you. I don't like to get caught up into personal property. Okay, when Steve and I bought our little lake cabin, we did do personal property in there. And I don't know what happened, but we did have to go in and figure out how much your personal property was worth. For whatever reason, and I think it's because we did a refi instead of a whatever, and I don't know.
Mhm.
So, but normally I'm not one to put personal property into it. I usually tell people when they go, ooh, I want a couch. You know, other than a refrigerator, you know, the normal house stuff, but when you get into, you know, couches and dishes and TVs and, you know, that kind of stuff, chairs and kitchen tables and pictures. I usually would tell my buyers, let's go ahead and get the real estate deal done. Let's get through the inspection period. And once we get through the inspection period, because inspections can be twice as hard to negotiate than the actual real estate deal, okay? So let's get through inspections, let's get through that, and then I'll look you two up, and you can work out whatever deal you want. I don't want in the middle of it. I don't wanna lose my deal over a picture, okay?
So I have, a specific question.
Okay.
So whenever you're doing your offer, right, you're sending over, your pre-approval, all that stuff. But let's say that, I don't know, the buyer has a lot more for a loan, than what the house they're trying to purchase is priced at.
Yeah.
So you know, you talk to the lender, they give you one that, you know, matches the price, or however you wanna do it. Do you upload and command the loan that like they have, or the one that you submitted with the offer?
When I spend it with the offer.
Okay.
And I will say, when I talk to the lender, if I'm in that scenario. And the original pre-approval is for $400,000, and we're buying a house for $350.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna make an offer of $325.
Mhm.
But I know I'm probably gonna end up at $350.
Mhm.
Because they've already told me, I'll go to $350, but we won't start here.
Mhm.
I will call the lender and I will ask for two
Yeah.
pre-approval letters. So I asked for a $325 and I asked for a $350.
Mhm.
And I don't use the 400,000 because I am not one to play a card
Yeah,
before I need to. I don't need the seller to know. Well, they can afford $400,000, I'm gonna kill them for $400,000, even though the house is listed at $350.
Yeah.
Okay, so they start getting greedy.
Mhm.
And they don't think. So, yeah, I do ask for two pre-approvals in that case.
Mhm.
If they're over, if they can buy more than what.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think when we bought our house, we had to have different pre-approval letters. I think we had multiple going into it, so.
And they're usually good with it. If they've already, they know you're good. They don't have problem
Mhm.
sending it. You just call them. We're getting ready to do this offer. I need, you know,
Yeah.
and you want, that's when you want the guy in your back pocket that will answer your phone on the weekends. So you want to establish that relationship and have that going, for sure. Okay, so what else do we need? We will need to know what financing type we're doing because it is required on the contract. So you will need to, if it's a conventional loan, you know, you'll need to put in there, you know, how much is the loan or what's the percent? Is it 80-20? Is it 90-10? Is it 95-5? How long the loan is for? And is the interest rate adjustable or fixed? Okay. A 5-year ARM is probably a 30-year loan that adjusts after 5 years. Okay, and I bring this up because I had a phone call today and she kept going, well, they're getting a 5-year ARM. And I said, but the loan's not up in 5 years. It just adjusts in 5 years. How long is the actual loan for? Well, I don't know. Well, you need to find out. Okay, so is it 15? Is it 20? Is it 30? Okay, so an adjustable ARM, a 3-year, a 5-year, a 7-year. That's just how long it goes that I'm fixed for 5 years, and in 5 years, we look at what the interest rates are doing. And it can go up, it can go down, or it can stay the same. Okay, hopefully in 5 years, we're going down. Okay. So. That, you need to know that, so you're gonna need to know the terms of. The financing, so having a conversation with your buyer's lender is very important. Don't write an offer without having a conversation and knowing what's going on. What do they need? What does your buyer need? And what are the particulars of it? Because you do have to put it in the offer. Okay. You're also gonna put in there the inspection period. How long do you have from the time that the offer is accepted to go in and do inspections? I usually tell everybody to do 14 days. Because there's weekends. So if you write an offer and it gets accepted on a Friday night, you probably won't get a hold of the inspector until Monday. To go ahead and get it scheduled, then it's probably gonna be Wednesday. And everything on the contract is calendar days, not business days. Okay, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm at day 5. Before I even do an inspection. And then all of a sudden, the inspector says, "Ooh, it's gonna take me 24 to 48 hours to get you the report back." Day 7, day 8. And your inspection notice is required to the listing agent on day 10. And you still gotta get the report, get with your buyer, work out what it is that they need. And oh crap, now I need to bring somebody in to go give me an estimate of what this is gonna cost. I'm just past Mondays. Okay. So if you put 14 days in there, you account for your weekends that you got going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And right then is when we start counting those days, just in case something happens, so we have enough time to.
Yeah, it gives you a
Fix it
couple
and keep
extra
going.
days to be
Right.
able to get through it, so. Contract acceptance is the day that the last person, whether it be the buyer or the seller, signs. Okay. And a lot of times I will ask you, what is your acceptance date? When you call me. Okay, cause I get phone calls that say, "Oh my God, Monica, the listing agent just told me that I can't get anything fixed, and I sent her over a list. And I don't know what to tell my buyers now because she says I missed my time." Well, what was your final acceptance date? Well, it was the 1st of January. And how long did you have to do inspections? 10 days. When did you send her the notice? On the 12th of January. Yeah. You blew it. So, okay. So I tell you guys these things so that you understand that time is of the essence once you get a contract.
Yep.
Okay. What else do we need to know on the contract? Any other special terms are gonna go in, other special terms. If we need something taken out, we will exclude that, but you need to have a conversation with the buyer of how to structure the offer. Okay. You wanna know that before you write it. Okay, and when you call me, I'm probably gonna ask you those certain questions. And before we sit down and write it, if you tell me I don't know, I'm gonna have you call your buyer, you guys are gonna work it out, and then we're gonna write up the offer, okay? So we're gonna write up all the offer, we're also gonna put on there, when our closing date is, we will also put on there when possession is. So possession can be at signing, at closing, the next day, 5 days from now, whatever that time frame is that is needed. We will also put a expiration of the offer on the contract, okay? I normally try to give somebody 24 hours to respond back to me. Now, when I call the listing agent and she says, "Oh, my buyer's out of the country," give me some extra time. Okay, I could do that. If I know about it, I can do it. Okay. So if I were to put an offer in, you know, let's say right now at 2 o'clock. I would probably give the seller until 5 o'clock tomorrow to respond to them. Okay, you know, if we get in a market like we were in when you bought your house.
It was, you had to put an
2
offer,
hours.
you had to put an offer in that day. And you
Yes.
got a response usually, like I know when we bought ours, we had to put. They, 3 other people looked at it, I think those other 3 other people also put offers in. They liked our offer because we were gonna pay all the closing costs, but they wanted a $4,000 earnest money check. So we had to put that in there, which pretty much covered all closing costs, but they want us to put that up front to take our offer, and hopefully we were able to do it, but yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It
That was a crazy time.
was pretty crazy.
Okay, so we're gonna present the offer, we talked about preparing an offer. On page 13, there is a checklist. Which I kind of went through everything for.
Yeah.
And, oh, well, actually on 15 is the checklist for writing the offer. And you're gonna cover all those things. I really think that I covered everything in here, closing date, home warranty. I don't usually worry about repair limits. I don't put repair limits on there unless we're in a really competitive market. Okay, so I don't wanna play a card that I don't need to play until I gotta play it. And I'm certainly not gonna make an offer that says, oh, my buyer is only gonna ask for up to $500 in repairs, and then we get into the house and it's like, oh my God, this is a mess. And now we gotta cancel, and now they're mad at me.
Yeah.
Because I put that in.
And you lost out on potential.
So-
More sense.
So I don't like to, I don't play any cards until I have to play those cards, okay? We're gonna call the listing agent, we're gonna go ahead and let them know what's going on. I will say that when I send an offer, I give a high-level breakdown in the email that I'm sending them. Here's my offer, they are pre-approved for this, offer price, closing date, seller's concessions, you know, I don't go into all the details. We want all the appliances and the bare cloth bathtub and the, you know, they can figure that out. Yeah, do I want a home warranty? Do I not want a home warranty? But I put the basic, you know, top 5 things about the offer in the email that I'm sending. Okay, with the offer. Okay, representing the seller. Seller side's a lot easier than the buyer side. Gosh, you don't gotta fill out all the paperwork. I will say this. When you get the call from a buyer's agent that says, we're writing an offer, do not call your seller and tell them that you're getting an offer. They can tell me that all day long, and then the offer doesn't come, and then the seller's upset with me. Now, remember, I told you guys, under promise, over deliver, okay? So I get all giddy within myself.
Yeah.
So we are going to receive the offer, we're gonna look the offer over. Then we're gonna call our seller, we're gonna let them know that we received an offer, and are they available to talk about it? Okay, then I will send the offer over to them. After I told them that we're getting an offer, if it's a good offer, I'm gonna go, I think this is a good offer. If it's not a good offer, I usually preface it was everybody has to put a number on the table. And it's the starting. Okay. We're going to send the offer over to them, we're gonna get on the phone and we're gonna go through. Okay, we're gonna find out what they like, what they don't like. I usually ask them what their thoughts are. I don't start telling them what I think until I ask them what their thoughts are. Okay, And once you start getting the objections or whatever, is when you start digging a little bit deeper into what it is that we need to come up with to get this deal to go. Okay. I will tell you. That if you receive an offer and the seller says, I don't like it. And I'm not gonna take this offer. A rejection of an offer is not really an option for my sellers. My question back to them is, what do you want to counter at? Okay, so, full story. There was an agent that was in the office that I was in at Kansas City. And they had a house on the market. It was overpriced. And they were getting all kinds of showings, okay? And they received an offer, on a property that was for sale for $500,000. And the offer came in at $425,000. Okay, and she presented the offer to the seller said, no, I don't wanna do that yet. She didn't tell him to count it. Okay, and so they rejected the offer. Went on about their merry way. And, they had received like 4 offers, okay? And each offer kept coming in at the same number, 425, 425, 390, 425, okay? He rejected 4 offers. The house sat on the market for 18 months with 4 offers on the table. I think it was after 18 months. I've been longer, I've been 2 years. And this was an estate situation. Okay, so mama died. We got 4 kids involved. These 2 want their money. These 2 are greedy. Okay. So 2 years goes by. And, he rejected all these offers. And of course, when you put a house on the market, you know, the showings are like this. And then after a while, people start going, why is it on the market too long?
Yeah.
What's wrong with it? And the showings do this, okay? So of course, we've been on the market for 2 years, so the showings are way down here, okay? So they finally got another offer at the 2-year mark. This is what the offer was for.
$425.
And the listing agent finally said, you need to counter. You gotta counter this offer. Okay, it's been on the market for 2 years. The 2 sisters are calling and they're screaming at me all the time because the house hasn't sold. Okay. The market is not bearing the number that you want for the house. So they countered. And they ended up, I believe, at $450. Is what they sold it for. So the number that's always put on the table is not necessarily the number that we're going to end up at. Okay. And 2 years and 2 months later, the house finally sold for the amount of the first offer. Okay, so we wasted all this time. There's carrying costs involved.
Yeah.
We're paying taxes, we're paying money to keep it up, we're paying utilities on it, we're paying, you know, the mowing guy, we're paying, okay, there's, and, you know, the air conditioner broke and I gotta fix that, and so we went through 2 years of expense to end up with the same number. Okay. I will tell you another story. I had a house on the market, same price range. And the house was on the market at $499. I had a guy call me, you know, sitting in front of the house, I want to do this house, walk next door, open up the house. He wanted to make an offer. It was basically the same scenario, offered $425,000. I called my seller, don't shoot the messenger, it's a number, it's a starting point. Okay, he wanted to reject the offer. I said, no, we're not rejecting the offer. If you want to counter, we'll counter full asking price. Okay. Your number's 499.9. We're countering at 499.9. Okay. He slept on it. He came back to me, I'll counter at 495. Okay, that's talking about overnight.
Yeah.
A good night's sleep.
Yeah.
sometimes can do one.
Yep.
So we countered at 490, 495. We actually we went back and forth a couple of times. I would not let him back out. And we ended up selling the house for 480. Okay, so a lowball number does not always mean that that's where you're gonna end up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Buyers like to put a little ball in there the first time.
everybody wants a deal,
Yeah.
right? But I can tell you that wife loves that kitchen. And she is gonna work her husband because she wants that house, okay? And that's how it ends up all the time.
Yeah.
And when he came in and said 425, she went like this. Human nature.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a while. So we're gonna present the offer and then we're going to respond to the offer. So we're either gonna accept the offer as is. We're gonna preferably not reject an offer. We're not gonna let our sellers to do that, or we're going to counter. Okay, so those are the steps that you're going to take. One of those three things is going to happen. Then, once we do that, now the seller may ask you for information. They may ask you for pre-approval. They may ask you for how long has the buyer been looking. They may ask you, are they qualified? They, you know, what's going on with them. For some reason, emotional attachment is involved at this point sometimes, especially with the female. And if they've lived in the house for a long time, they don't want to just let anybody in their house, but for some reason that can happen. So expect those questions, and you may have to go back to the buyer's agent and say, hey, what's going on here, get clarification, you know, whatever, but I will say that it usually goes back and forth pretty fast. We don't do verbal back and forth down here, we do it up there, but we don't down here. And I will say the reason for that, and it's to protect you. Because I have been in a situation where we verbal back and forth. The listing agent said we had a deal. For some reason, 36 hours later, I didn't have to sign paperwork. And I call her up and I go, what's up with this? Oh, well, we got another offer and we accepted it. Okay, so it is for your protection, to do the counter offer back and forth. Okay, now on counter offers back and forth, I may not give them as much time as I did for the initial response. I may shorten that. Okay, so if I send them one at 2 o'clock this afternoon, I may ask for a response by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay, so we're gonna go back and forth. Am I missing anything? Checklist, the checklist for reviewing, an offer on the sell side is on page 20. So you do want to make sure the address is correct. You don't want to sell the neighbor's house. Okay. You do want to check the price, what kind of earned money is there, time for acceptance, is there pre-approval? The financing terms, closing date, is there a home warranty, what do they want to convey? Did they ask for any repairs, special clauses, HOA, and possession date? Okay, so you do wanna check, all of those things, and I had a thought on the buy side, but I just went out my brain.
The last walkthrough, the last walkthrough, like about that.
Yeah, we're not there. It has something to do
Oh, okay.
with an offer, and it'll come back to me here in a minute. So there is kind of a checklist of the things that you want to check on there so that you can have a conversation with your seller about the offer, okay? Present the offer, read the decision. No, awesome. Cool. Now we'll talk about negotiate the deal. Where do I put this book? And some of this I may have, do you guys have any questions on any of that? It's all pretty self-explanatory. Or I'm that thorough. Which
I
is,
think we're good. I think it's, you're thorough,
okay.
yeah.
Excuse me, are the papers up there from yesterday and today?
Yes,
Okay, should I wait until after class to get them?
well, here, we're getting ready to do this one. And then you can get what you need of the other ones. Okay, so negotiating a deal. I think that the big things on negotiating a deal, you know, I've said a couple of times today that, there's like 4 people on there.
No, just two,
Okay, just- oh,
Tiffany and Callie and me.
well, and then I guess I'm the 4th one.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I think probably the biggest thing that I will tell you is I don't play any cards until I have to. Okay, so when I'm doing negotiation, I don't call the listing agent and go, yeah, well, they told me they'd really go for 375. And they really don't need all these closing costs and all that. So I kind of hold everything close to my vest. And I wait for the response to come in. So I don't always, you know, want to play all of those cards. The other thing that I will say is on both sides of the aisle, whether you're the buyer's agent or the seller's agent. Sometimes negotiations can get a little emotional. And sometimes people get drama. Okay, and they worry about things that they don't necessarily need to worry about. And you have spent,
I think, did someone text in the chat?
they just said something in the chat, yes. Thank you for paying attention to that, because I'm not,
Just read. and I was
I'm
like,
not necessarily good at doing that.
Oh, okay.
Says, yep, hi. So. You guys need to be the voice of reason, you need to be the common sense, you need to be. Equal, balanced. Okay, the drama will come, you need to talk them off the ledge. Don't get caught up in the drama. Don't be unprofessional with the listing agent. Okay, don't call and just because your buyer said all of these things and vomited all over you about something does not mean that you need to repeat it to the listing agent, okay? Because we don't want to get her worked up, and now all of a sudden, we don't have a good working relationship. And the deal falls apart, not because of the buyer or the seller, but the deal falls apart because the listing agent and the buyer's agent got into a little tiff. Okay, because they got emotionally involved. Sometimes with buyers, you know, we have spent all this time in a car with them and we have shown them, you know, 35 houses and they become our buddies. And we want to protect them and we want to do all that. Remember, you're a professional. Don't get caught up in it. Don't feed the drama. Okay, so if they call you up and they're, okay, don't feed the drama. And I will tell you that probably 2 most important words that you will learn in real estate to say to your client is I understand. Okay? A lot of times the drama and the venting, they just need to get it off their chest. That's all they really need to do. And we don't need to go in and go, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. They're just stupid. Okay, we need to say, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I think that the best approach to this is this. Okay, calm. And I have a lot of agents that they get wrapped up in it. And they come in my office and they rant, okay? And my two famous words will come out of my mouth, I understand. But what do you think we should do about it? How do you think this should be handled? I think that maybe you should go back and say this. Okay, so you guys will call me on occasion, ready, fit to be tied, ready to jump off the cliff, and I will talk you down off the ledge. I will give you advice on how to go back to your seller or your buyer and coach them through the deal, okay? And I will tell you this story. We had an agent in the office, she had a listing. And her seller had a drinking problem. Alcohol can make people the stupidest people sometimes. And he had a drinking problem. And they received an offer on the property. They came to terms and they negotiated the whole offer. They were at no, it was right before inspections. And it just happened to be around, he was selling his mother's house. Okay. And it just happened to be around the anniversary time that his mother had passed away. And he started drinking one night and he called the agent, started at 8 o'clock at night. And he started calling her and telling her that he wanted to back out of the contract. He didn't want to sell it. It was his mother's house. He just, I don't want to do it. I want to cancel this contract. I want you to do it. I want you to do it right now. Okay. And she called me and she said, what do I do? And I said, well, you don't respond to it tonight. Because he's drunk. Okay. So part of the contract says that they kind of have to be in a right
Yeah.
line to make decisions. Okay.
Let's say that.
And so, so she didn't respond to him. She just let the phone ring, put it on silent, let the phone ring, ignored the text messages. 9 o'clock the next morning, he calls her up. She did answer the phone. And he said, I want to apologize to you for the way that I acted last time. And we need to go ahead and move forward with the sale of the house.
Well, at least he remembered.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
So you have to remember that emotions get involved, things happen. And sometimes as a real estate agent, we are marriage counselors, we are coaches, we are psychologists, we are, okay, make the deal happen. And we have to let some of the things go and not get caught up in it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Perfect.
So be professional. Be the person that has common sense, even keeled. Okay, remember the goal is to get to the closing table. That's the goal. We want to get under contract. We want to get the property sold. Okay, I will also say though, it needs to be a win-win. Okay, I am not a win-lose person. I am a win-win person. I am not the type of person that, is going to allow another party take advantage of the person that I am representing. Okay, but I will also say that you are not making the deal. It is not your property, it's not your purchase. Okay, so it is actually either the seller's decision or the buyer's decision. Okay, so a lot of times you guys will call me up, not you guys. people will call me up. And they will say, I don't know what to do. And I said, what do you mean? Well, they came back with yada, 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 yada. Well, what does your buyer want to do? Well, I don't know, I haven't called them. Well, I think we need to have a conversation. Okay, so your buyer is actually the one, or your seller is the one that is going to make the decision. Okay, and sometimes it's just best for us to be quiet. And let them make their decision. Okay, we may not necessarily always agree with it, or we may not do it that way, but we're not in their shoes. How badly do they want the house? What are they willing to do? They may be pretty laid back and no, you wouldn't do it, but they might be okay with it. And if they are, you need to,
Carry on,
hmm,
carry on.
well, respect their decision.
Yeah.
And support it. Okay, does that make sense? Am I missing anything? Control what you say and anyone involved in the transaction. If you create anxiety in your client or other parties, you are reducing their leverage in negotiation. So we don't always have to say everything that's going on. And then, if we need to refer back to motivation, a lot of times this refer back to motivation is actually directed at the seller. Because sometimes their emotions get involved and they don't want to necessarily make the right decision. Okay, so we need to, no, I'm gonna reject that offer. It's only $5,000 off. So you're gonna walk away from this offer for $5,000. And it's going to take, we're gonna put the house back on the market. We don't know when another offer is going to come back down. And so you are willing to put the house back on the market for another 90 days. And not go to Kansas City to be with your grandkids.
Gotta be the voice of reason.
Gotta be the voice of reason. Okay, what is their motivating factor?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not gonna say that it is manipulation, but it's helping them make the right decisions. Okay. A lot of them will say that, you know, when they take an offer and they reject it, you take the piece of paper, you crumple it up and you throw it back at them. And so you just bought the house back. Which technically they did.
Yeah.
Now, I may not do that with everybody. You know, but I have made I didn't crumple the paper up, but I have made the comment of, you just bought your house back. A high I personality, you do not want to do that with a high I personality.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you may want to do it with an engineer or an attorney or something like that, they're gonna go, oh, I didn't think of it that way. That was the detail that I hadn't thought of. So keep that in mind. Refer back to motivation, listen more than talk. And understand the 2 words I understand. Let them vent. And sometimes a good night's sleep will turn them around, okay? There have been times that I have been on the phone with somebody at 10 o'clock at night. And they are just having a fit about what the buyer, you know, sent to them or did whatever. And I say, why don't you sleep on it? We'll get back together in the morning. I'll call you at 8. Is that good? Okay. And you know, sometimes they get time to calm down. Think about it. If they're married, you know, the wife that might be when she goes, now honey, I really want to get to Kansas City and I don't want to wait till September because Horace is due in July and I'm going to be up there. Okay, he may go, yeah, okay, I get it. Okay. So sometimes a good night's sleep can resolve a lot of things. Okay. Don't be attached to the outcome. And that goes back to being calm, don't get emotionally involved. One thing that I do like to tell people is don't get commission breath. Don't do a deal and push somebody into a deal because you need a commission check. Do the right thing. Okay, so, it's not worth the lawsuit later on down the road. It's not worth, them getting upset with you and bad mouthing you around town. It's not worth, a lot of times, some of the more difficult clients that you have will be the people that refer you the most business. So keep that in mind. We need to do the right thing. We act in integrity. I get it, not all real estate agents are created equal. But here at KW, we act in high integrity. We are honest. Win-win or no deal, okay? And some of them out there, you're gonna be going, really? And you got your, where'd you get your license from? Okay, so most common points of negotiation is price. Price is the number one deal, okay? Terms, closing costs, seller concessions, that can make or break a deal. Usually when I'm talking with my buyer, I'm gonna have the conversation, okay, we're gonna ask for $6,000. How much money do you have to put towards this? Chances are they may not take 6. We may have to reduce that down to 4,500. Are you okay with that? When we get to that point, okay? So I like to know where they're at and where they're okay with landing. Okay, so there's a lot of communication that gets involved, in that. Closing date, what do we want? I think a lot of this we talked about. Know your goal, know your client, think ahead, set clear expectations, be informed, obey the law. Yeah, know the documents inside out. Please read the documents. Call the other agent. Pay attention to nonverbal cues. Okay. Get to know body language. If you're meeting with your buyers in person, sometimes you can't do that when you're on the phone. I will also go ahead and say, part of the reason that I met with people in person was so that I could go through the whole, I could read their body language and I could put off the body language that I needed. In person, you have body language, you have facial expression, you have tonality. Okay. On a phone, you only have tonality. I will tell you, that it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to write it. Okay, so be very careful when you get ready to write a nasty email to somebody. Think about what you're saying, because once it's in writing, you can't take it back. Also understand that when you're dealing with a client or another agent, sometimes we need to pick up the phone and have a phone conversation. Okay, what comes across on a text message is perceived in the mood of the person that's receiving it. Okay, unless you are putting all the love emojis and hearts and, you know, that kind of stuff, they may not perceive your text message the way that you intended it to be. Okay. And you guys will notice that if you call me up and you ask me about a question, and it's gonna take me more than a sentence to answer you, I will pick up the phone for you. Okay, and we will have a conversation. Or even if it's more than just, or less than a sentence, depending on, what it's about, the subject or whatever, I may pick up the phone and call you. Okay, because some conversations need to be had as conversations and not text message. So if your clients are starting to get emotional on the text messaging, call them and have a conversation, okay? Or maybe I need to come over and we need to meet. Let's sit down and have a chat. That kind of thing, so keep that in mind. Pay attention, keep quiet once you present an offer, let them think through it, listen to what they have to say. Your clients. Listen carefully, stay calm and relaxed, we talked about that. Focus on your customer needs, and give your offer the best chance, okay? Now, there will be, there will be a lot of times that your client is gonna go, what do you think? Okay, and normally I would say, let me know your thoughts. And kind of tell me where you're coming from, and then I will tell you what I think. Okay, what do you think I should do, Monica? Well, I think that, you know, the last offer that we have that didn't go through, that you were gonna take $280,000 with no closing costs. And now you have an offer at $299 with $9,000 in closing costs, and your net's gonna be $290 versus $280. I think you need to go ahead and take the deal. You're gonna be making $10,000 more than what your bottom line was. Don't be greedy. All right, what do you want to accomplish? Okay. Oh, on a counter offer, when you do a counter offer and you present that, or you get ready to type up a counter offer. The only thing that is required on a counter offer, is the things that you are changing from the terms of the original contract.
Say that
Does that make
one more
sense?
time.
On the counter offer, the things that you were changing are only the things that you were changing from the original contract. Okay, so I get an offer for $295,000, closing date February 28th, loan amount, you know, all that stuff. And the only thing that I'm countering is the price. So the only thing that you have to put on the counter offer is the change that you're making, which would be the price. Okay, you don't have to go in and address all the other terms. So you're only countering what's changing. Okay. Now, I'm a pretty thorough person, so sometimes I go ahead and put 300,000 closing date on this date, and I lay out some of the other terms. There's nothing wrong with doing that either. But if the listing agent calls you and goes, well, you didn't have to do that. Yeah, I know. I understand. I didn't have to do that. Okay. And they will, because they've been doing this for 30 years. And they go, wait, do not let another agent bully you. Do not let it happen. And if you feel like you were being bullied, and yes, it does happen. If you feel like you were being bullied, you let me know, or you let Deb know. I got no problem unleashing Deb on another agent outside of this company for being a bully to a new agent. Got no problem with that. I will have her put them in their place. And I say that with complete sincerity, because we've done it before. Okay.
Welcome to Keller Williams.
Yes,
Number one.
She's pretty awesome. I will say that Deb
Yeah.
is pretty awesome. Okay. Okay, so on page 29, 30, and 31, there are some scripts in here for you guys to be able to handle buyers or sellers' objections or requests. You might want to read them over a little bit. I am a person that likes to use scripts. It will help you get through it. Okay, and sometimes you just want to you wanna run through and say those scripts 4 or 5 times, 5,000 times, yes. It's Monica Skinner with Keller Williams Great Lakes, and I was just wondering if you wanna buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And I've said it 5,000 times. But you wanna get to where you feel comfortable, where it just comes off. So that when you hear the objection, or the statement, you can go, oh yeah, I know what to say to this. Okay, and it'll come out a lot easier. Now, I do suggest that you not just read it, that you actually say it aloud. Okay, so saying it aloud, it helps you remember it. Just reading it, you may not comprehend it completely, and you can also hear the tone in your voice. Okay, so I went to lunch and went to Chick-fil-A because, it's Wednesday. I always go to Chick-fil-A, I'm a creature of habit. And I listened to John Tuff Radio. Do any of you guys listen to John Tuff Radio? Do we know who John Tuff is?
Used to a lot, but not so much
I've
now.
heard of it, but. I haven't really listened.
Well, he's a big guy into, telling you about, studies and things that you can do, to help yourself, help your health, help your whatever, okay? And he, it's funny, because on the way over there, he said, they say that if you really want to remember something, to read it aloud. Or if somebody asks you to do something, you have to tell yourself to do it and say it out loud. Because when you're talking to yourself, it registers better than if somebody just tells you to do it. So, saying it out loud will register it in your brain. Okay, that's fine. Little coaching mantra for the day. Questions? Comments? Cool. Okay, I'm not gonna start number 11 because number 11 requires me to have to clean the board off and go in and put the whole timeline. And we go through the whole timeline of what goes on, from the time that you get the offer to the time that you close. I will say this, you go through all these negotiations, you get an accepted offer. And of course, the first thing you're gonna do is adjourn something there, and you're gonna do what happens. Okay, you're gonna call Monica and you're gonna. Okay, and then,
You're too busy for that.
no, I'm not. I get texts all the time. Texts, phone calls, people come in my office, I want to celebrate with you. I really do. Nothing makes me happier than for you guys to get into contract and all that stuff. So I can't remember if it's Monday or Tuesday, that we have class again. Monday, there you go, thank you. I sometimes I don't even know what day of the week it is right now. So Monday, we will go through final contract acceptance to the time that we get to close, and we will talk about everything that happens in there, okay? So a lot of people think that all we do is go show a house. And then we write a contract. And then we just wait for closing date. When you actually get the contract accepted, is when you as a realtor really start working. That's when the fun begins, okay? So I will see you guys on Monday. Did you get anything out of this?
Yes.
Did it help?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, honey.
Yep. Bye, guys on the computer. I'm not sure if you guys are still there or not. Oh, thank you.
Are these the same packets from like?
From the last,
Okay.
yeah. So they will be the same ones that if you were here before.
Before when? Like last year or something?
Like they go.
If you've ever come to this class before, you probably got some of those packets.
And if you don't remember if you have them or not, go ahead and take some new ones.